That's right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Everybody getting ready for a blizzard? I don't know what's coming our way, but we're getting ready for it. Thank you for being here, everybody. Join in. We got a few things on deck here that I want to go over regarding the Notre Dame recruiting cycle. Some of this is tough in my mind, folks. Some of this, it's just so Notre Dame-y. But there's some nuance to this recruiting cycle in this class and the way it's going to go that I want to go over. So thank you for everybody for being here. Phone lines are up. It's very simple. The topic's simple today. I want to know what you guys think of the recruiting class. Do you think it's what you wanted out of a Marcus Freeman recruiting class? Do you feel like it's going to fall short of your expectations because of things dropping off the top end, let's say, of what this class could have been, looked like it was going to be, wanted it to be for a very long time? So there's some nuance here. I want to know what you think of this class. I want to know whether it depends what's going to happen in a little bit, in a couple hours. I want to know what you think of these position groups. Who did a really, really good job? Who didn't? That kind of thing. All right. What areas do you feel like need more help? All right. And where do you feel like Notre Dame's making strides, where they're catching up with the big boys? I want to know. Okay. So I see a larger crowd than normal. I expected that just because there's a lot going on. Anybody who calls, what we're going to try and do is get through them as fast as we can so I can let people have their time. Not sure how long we're going to go today. I have life obligations, people in town for Christmas, things to do. But I wanted to hit this morning first thing because it's what we're all focused on. And never forget. I know you got NIL. I know you got the transfer. I know you got all that action, okay? Recruiting is the lifeblood of any college football program. Genuine recruiting, high school recruiting, all right? The portal gets all the attention. I understand all that. Recruiting high school players is the lifeblood of any program. It's what sets the tone. It's what sets the culture. We must never, ever, ever forget that, okay? Kent Jackson, hello. I see it, Kent. Kent Jackson, if you're new here, he's our resident Ohio State guy. Started following the show when we were leading up to Notre Dame, Ohio State, and never left. God bless him. I love him. Something about this show draws him here. He's here every single day. And the Ohio State people are not happy with their recruiting so far this morning. I saw a lot of angry Buckeye fans on Twitter early this morning. I used to say, I'm not seeing Ryan Day's results on the field on the top end, but at least I know that recruiting is going to be A+. Looks like they're getting mad about that. Okay? Looks like they're getting mad about. See, here we go. Drunk Vigo says, bags of fat stacks of cash are the lifeblood of programs. I knew we were going to get some of that today. I knew we were, and we'll cover some of it. So I see a couple phone calls. I'm going to get through my introduction, the roll call, and I highlighted a couple chats, and I got a couple bullet points, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. We'll see how long we go today. I don't know. The other thing is, folks, there's a lot going on today, and I've got some other threads up on my screen to try and follow any breaking news. So let me know if you see any news break that I don't see, because I'm trying to do all this at once. I have a stream up of Irish Game Day, Recruiting Day Live, whatever. I don't know if this is true or not. Somebody put on Twitter right before I got on that one of the image graphics with Peyton Bowen was removed off one of the Notre Dame sites. I saw that getting circulated. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. All right. Before I get into that, introductions. Obviously, you're on YouTube. Hit subscribe if you haven't yet. There's more people here in the morning than normal. Hit subscribe. I'd appreciate it very much. Notifications on. That way you'll be alerted every time a new episode drops. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish, or at Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want me. You can get me. Call in line 312-900-8815. Fighting Irish Wire. Every day, tune in. I got new articles. There's stuff all over. Okay. Hit the like button. That helps. All of it helps. Okay. So let's get into a couple of the starred chats I had here from before we started. Let's see. Here we go. See, it didn't take long, and we have the debate of, is this class good enough? Is this another Brian Kelly class? All of that. I see it all the time, and it's entertaining to me. All right. So I've heard it be said by a lot of people here. Here's where we're going to start. A lot of people have been telling me, John, if our top end guys are going to get poached, meaning thought you were in position for Dante Moore. Listen, as everybody learned, he's a really immature kid who blows in the direction of the wind. Flipped again. Remember the big deal between Notre Dame and Oregon? And then he flips and he doesn't even end up there. Like, that's an immature kid. Those guys rarely work out in Notre Dame. It's very, very hard. They rarely work out in Notre Dame when that's the kind of dynamic you're dealing with. There's some immaturity there. But if you want to tell me, John, and I've had people tell me this, if you take Keeley off this class, depending on what happens with Bowen, you take him out of that class, and then a crown jewel quarterback that we looked like we were in position for, that's the angle where people will come to me and say, this is just a Brian Kelly class. Where's the action on the top? Like that for years, that's what we said about Brian Kelly. A lot of these classes are really, really solid. Where are the guys that get you over the top in your biggest games? And then you look at it and then you see, and it's a guy like Keeley destroying the line. It's a guy like Bowen who does everything from everywhere. And a quarterback like Dante, if he's as good as they say, that can come in and play right away and help you. So I could see that angle of why people are going to say, if you don't land all those guys and close on him, what are we really doing here? Is this just a bunch of dressing on a Brian Kelly tree? I have seen that argument be made. And we could talk about where this class is going to end up, somewhere in the top 10, whatever, depending on Bowen. The other thing with Lamar, people are saying on Twitter, oh, he's still a Notre Dame commit. Look at the list. I feel like that's pretty understood that it's done, right? Oregon, that's just done. And so I think Notre Dame's counting on it being done, even though he's technically in the class. Now, the good news is with that one, I'm not as worried about running back as I am other positions with Notre Dame. They're going to be fine there. So that is going to hurt less. I saw rumors about Love and Michigan wanting to make a move with him. He ended up signing, so that's one that Notre Dame won. And is also a running back type athlete. I don't know what else is rumored for today other than Bowen. Bruce, the format, good to see you here, man. I was texting with him this morning. He's going to be at Notre Dame's bowl game, covering it as an official media member, as he should. He's good at what he does. Go check it out, the Format Podcast. Angela Rudiger, good to have a Rudiger here. It's good to have a Rudiger here. Mikey Poles, good to see you. Listen, here's something else that's kind of frustrating. I feel like if Notre Dame doesn't land Bowen, that is going to be the overarching feeling and vibe of this class, and it's going to be negative. I just do. That's what I see this being like with Keeley and what we thought with Dante and all. That's my feeling, is this is all the vibe of this whole day is going to come down to them trying to hold on to Bowen. You guys have heard all the rumors. You've heard the rumors and the money and everything going on there. And that's going to be the feel. And that's where you get people going, John, it's a Brian Kelly class in disguise. Where's the top end guys? Like the top end guys, not potential, not maybe in 2 to 3 years. You need a bunch of those guys, and you need the freshmen that can go play right away and start for you. That's how Notre Dame closes this gap practically and perceptually with some of these other teams. is, yeah, you got to have those guys that are 4-stars, can develop. Yeah, you need those. And you need a handful of guys that can go make winning plays for you next year. That's how Notre Dame closes that gap. Figure out your quarterback situation. That's how you close that gap. I get it. Okay. I get that. But what I'm going to say on this is, and again, if he doesn't get Bowen, people are not going to want to hear this. They're not going to want to hear it. The effort of this recruiting staff is nothing like a Brian Kelly situation. Don't even put him in the same area code. They're not the same. All right? The way this staff works and the effort that Freeman puts in and requires from everybody else on his staff is nothing like anything Brian Kelly ever even wanted to imagine putting together here. Even if it doesn't pay off with Bowen or whatever, it's going to pay off. That's my overarching point. I made it 12 minutes before yelling. That's damn good for me. So even if Bowen goes elsewhere and we're all left at the altar and we're all upset and it's for money, whatever, girlfriend, whatever. Have you a girlfriend in Norman, Oklahoma and one in South Bend? If that's a big deal to you. If you're this big shot player, have one in each area code. Problem solved. If that's the issue, being by the girlfriend. No, I'm not ready for the big snowstorm. They said, 2 feet. Sorry to jump topics. I just saw that comment. 2 feet of snow, 60-mile-an-hour winds blowing sideways. No, I'm not ready for that. Even living in the Midwest in northern Illinois, I'm not ready for that. Hell no. No. I don't mind shoveling. It's good exercise. 60-mile-an-hour side winds, not so fast, my friend. Man, it's rough out here. But back to this. My point is, this is an entirely different effort with a different level of everything. That's going to pay off. So even if it doesn't go our way with Bowen, we're all going to be mad and it is going to hurt. But I'm telling you, big picture, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. That's the other thing about this that we all need to understand. It's just the start. Freeman is going to level out. We're getting to the phone calls in a second. Dr. John up first. Move to Florida. Trust me, it's being talked about. Parents bought a place down there in a golf course. My brother lives there. Trust me, I'm thinking about it. Okay, I really am. But what I was going to say is this is just the beginning. I think sometimes we're so wrapped up in the now. It's all just now. I'm looking at this bigger picture. Marcus Freeman's going to calibrate his recruiting process. He is going to figure out what worked and what didn't. What weaknesses there are that Notre Dame's exposed to on the back end, meaning how does Notre Dame do a better job of protecting itself against being strung along forever, putting so much effort and resources into a guy only to be left at the altar for NIL at the end? Things like that, I think, are going to level out where Freeman will be able to better insulate and protect Notre Dame. I do. So that's the other thing to understand is this is just the beginning. It's Marcus Freeman's first cycle of this all being his operation. It's only going to get more refined and better the further we go along. You can only control what you can control if you're Marcus Freeman. And I say that in an overarching large way. Phone calls in a minute, I promise. I say that in a large way, meaning Freeman can't control if Notre Dame's not allowed to match NIL offers to an extent, or if a guy's just playing us along, stringing us along. There's nothing Freeman can do about that. All he could do is put in the genuine effort, make everybody on the staff put in the effort and see what happens. But Freeman's not a dummy. He's going to learn from all this and get better and evolve. That's a key point in this because we get backed up in this NIL corner where you feel like Notre Dame's in the lead for a great player for like a year, and then all it takes at the end is a check, and then we lose them. That is a very frustrating use of resources and time. It's not even just You didn't get the player for the future. But I also look at all the hours and the plane trips and everything that goes into recruiting a guy for a year, and then you lose to a check at the end. That's the kind of stuff I think will calibrate out. I think Freeman is going to learn his way around that, look for red flags, figure out where there's guys that just aren't worth dealing with, because this is going to be an issue. You got to thread a needle somewhere. You got to thread a needle somewhere. Drunk Vigo says, John, if ND goes 8-4 again next season, what will you say? Totally unacceptable. No. Totally and completely unacceptable. Okay? That is ridiculous. Okay? So 8-4, absolutely not. Can't do it again. The bar's back to 10 wins. Year one, I had genuine flexibility for Freeman in year one, dealing with a roster that went into the season extremely flawed, in my opinion. I know the preseason ranking was high. The roster was flawed big time. And the schedule Marcus Freeman inherited in his first year is so much more challenging than anything Kelly had the last handful of years. It's not even funny. You went from the toughest game of the year being Cincinnati at home to playing Ohio State top 5 at their place, Clemson undefeated top 5 at your place, and USC with the Heisman winner at their place with the playoff on the line. All right? You have to understand Marcus inherited that flawed roster and then a schedule that was 5 times as hard as anything Kelly had the last few years. I'm not making excuses. These are facts. So I had more flexibility this year for Marcus. 8-4 next year? No. 9-3 next year? No. 10-2 or up is the limit from now on. No. Like, I had my Freeman flexibility, and that was it. That was it. It's over. It's over. Okay? What is this? No. No. If Bowen signs, then there are 3 to 4 kids in this class that may play someday. The rest of the class is lower level talent. No. Nope. Like, I'm not even going to argue with you. I know you come in here and it's always something negative. Irish 574, I'm assuming you're local. Might love them and you're bitter about how things go. But no. The rest of the class is lower level talent. They're going to end up in the top 10 even without Bowen. So if they end up in the top 10 without Bowen, and you're saying the rest of that class is lower level talent, what about the 120 teams that have even lower talent than that? Like, I mean, I could get down with the glass half empty Notre Dame stuff. That's me a lot of time, but it has to be reasonable. Come on, it's a top 10 class for sure, even if it goes bad in a couple hours. Craig, good to see you, Craig. I miss you. John, any advice on tolerating the crowds during last-minute Christmas shopping? You don't do it. You don't do it. Craig, you don't do it. I have no patience. You don't do it. You avoid that situation. You do everything you can to not have to do last-minute Christmas shopping, grocery shopping, whatever. Now what we have in Illinois is the last-minute Christmas shopping and the last-minute grocery shopping because there's a blizzard coming. Don't do it. There's no reason you can't do your Christmas shopping in November and be all done. All done. You don't even put yourself in that situation. That's what you do, Craig. I love you. I miss you, Craigie. I got to get to South Bend and see you again. Let's see. Irish, Freeman will always be around 7-8 wins. There are many active coaches Freeman will never beat in recruiting or a football game. Again, I disagree. 7-8 wins, I disagree. I don't know what you wanted, Irish 574. Were you happy with Brian Kelly? If you have Irish 574, if you have this many complaints about Marcus Freeman this early, you got to hate Brian Kelly. If you have this body of work of complaints against the new guy right now, you have to be Kelly's mortal enemy because you are I just don't know what you wanted. Kelly, quiet, quit at Notre Dame, borderline refused to recruit at all. Did you want that to remain at Notre Dame another 10 years? Yeah, you were going to find a way to beat Marshall and Stanford, but you were never getting over the hump, and you knew it because the body of evidence showed it. The body of evidence showed it. So is that what you want? Like, I don't get it. Kelly wasn't enough. We wanted the new energetic young guy. Now you got him. You got to let him do some work. You got to let him do some work. I don't know what else you wanted. Who did you want to be Notre Dame's coach? I just don't get it. Kelly wasn't getting it done. Are you happy because Kelly would have found a way to beat Stanford and Marshall Irish 5-7-4? Is that what this is all about? Beating Stanford and Marshall? Kelly would have done that, no doubt. Kelly would have won those games by an ugly field goal, but he wasn't getting over the top. And I thought this was all about Notre Dame getting over the top. Sometimes you got to take a half step back to take two forward when the new plan takes hold. Like, those are the things I think about. I get asked all the time, would Kelly have lost against Marshall and Stanford? Nope. Those are the ugly sorts of games Kelly ends up grinding out, winning by a touchdown, and we all forget about. But there was never going to be anything higher on the back end under Kelly. Never. Never. He kept operating the same way. We got the exact same results. He was never changing. We were always going to get the same results. It's completely logical. I would that be what we'd rather have? Count me out. 11 years is enough for me to see the writing on the wall, never getting over the hump. Never getting over the hump. What do we have? Everybody's signed except for Lamar and Bowen. I'm just figuring Lamar's gone. And Bowen, we wait and see. We wait and see. I don't know what to tell you. Wait and see. I do feel like if, Irish 574 is Kelly. It might be, actually. You know what's funny about that? Remember when Kelly had that burner account? Everybody thought he had an LSU burner account. They were interacting with me a whole lot. Somebody brought it up later to me that burner account was interacting with me a lot. I hope to God it was actually Kelly. I really do. All right, let's get to a couple phone calls. We'll get to some chats. I want to know what you guys think. I get the worry about the very, very, very high end if you're losing it to NIL. I also say the effort here is going to pay off long-term for Notre Dame. They're going to have a higher talent ceiling, more depth, more speed, more athleticism moving forward under Freeman. That's going to help everything. Quarterback's got to fall into place. Like, there's certain things that need to come together still. But Notre Dame's in a pretty good place as far as this talent getting better. 612. Oh my God, that was awesome. Is Dr. John in outer space? 707, I'm going to you while Dr. John gets his phone back to Earth.
That was awesome.
No, you know what he did? I could see it in the call line. He accidentally called twice. And so it was echoing on top of itself when I answered one call. I don't know. I think he's a Martian. So, Dr. John, I see you called back. You're next up. You called twice, and it was getting me over-circulated. Anyways, here we are. It's signing day, overreaction time. What do you make of the talent level here? I have a feeling it's all going to be based on what Bowen does. That's going to be the riding feeling from today. Where are you at on all this?
Well, honestly, I'm not freaking out anymore. I think, like you said, I think Freeman, you have to go with the potential for him in recruiting, but because you look at what they have right now, and I think this is the most 4-stars they ever signed or will sign in their history. So that's got to be good news, It's just that, you just don't get 5-stars. So when somebody like a Bowen might leave, it's like, well, I'm I'm not going to freak out about it because they don't get 5 stars. You know, this is who they are. And if you want to get 5 stars, bottom line is you have to win, you know, and that's going to get kids to not change their mind and throw their hat into the Notre Dame ring to say, yeah,
that's where I always get caught up with that. Take NIL out of it, because that's another factor with the elite of the elite. Take that out.
It's a huge factor.
Yeah, take that out for a second as a factor, and then look at the other 2 ways this could go. You hit on it. I always say this. Notre Dame needs a few, at least, of those ultra elite plug and play young guys right away. And I always ask, how do you get that to that level? You either win elitely, and that attracts guys like that, or you got to find a way to attract them first and then win elitely, and then that cycle kicks in. You can't live in the middle forever, and that's where Notre Dame lives a lot, and it makes me uncomfortable. Like, we're in the middle. How do you, like you said, you got to win elitely, then they come, but I need him to be there to win elitely. How do you get out of that middle is where I end up stuck.
Well, I don't think you do until, and I hate to keep on harping on it, but we're not going to get a decent quarterback until Reeves, and even if we have promises now, until Reeves is gone, I think it's really well known from all the young kids that, he's just not, he's not doing it for them, like, didn't Elko have he averaged 35 points a game every time he played, What do we have from Reeves? It's lucky when we get to 20, but apparently it's because of quarterbacks too, but that's him too. So, that's really where it is. I mean, you're just going to have to get a kid from the portal and get used to the idea that everyone, until the NCAA says you have to sit out a year if you go into the portal, it's just going to be a bingo game every semester, basically.
Now, you're regarding the bingo game, there is almost less pressure to signing day than ever before in a lot of ways. It feels very watered down now. And I think the reason is because everybody knows nobody's stuck anywhere. After a year, half these players can go somewhere else. It doesn't quite have the permanent feel that it used to have.
No.
And so there's some flexibility in that. I just keep coming back to, I get there's frustrations that some of the crown jewels at the very high end aren't going to end up in Notre Dame. And if Bowen doesn't, that's another one. But exactly. And you're going to have to find a way to do that. But I still say overall, no one can compare the effort and the detail put into this recruiting operation compared to before. And overall, that's going to pay off long term. That is my overall sentiment of the day.
Yeah, and he's just starting. I mean, if you have one full year under your belt and you did the best recruiting that any coach has ever done at Notre Dame, that's got to tell people something. That, kids are listening to him and kids are believing and buying into him. But, it used to be that Notre Dame's coaches were really far superior to most every other coaching staff. And they said, look, you're going to come in here and I'm going to make you a better man. I'm going to make you able to play this game where you're going to be the best at your position. And that's what they believed. That's what they bought into. And they were. And then they would do it, But I think the pieces a lot of them are there, but not all of them. And the main one is an offensive coordinator. You have to have somebody that's believable and trusting. You have to be able to trust in what he's telling you and what he can do for you.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, a lot of the fan base thinks that. And then you talk to anybody in the industry and they all love the guy. I still hear that all the time. And just the the relation.
Who says they love him?
Just the recruits and their families love them and the players love them. That's a big deal. But internally, people say, man, he runs some good stuff. It's just you don't have the guys that can make it all open up yet. I keep hearing that. It's like, well, then recruit one. Recruit a few. Let's go.
Look at his numbers. Is he generating 35 points a game against everybody? No. He lose to Marshall. He lose to Stanford. And your bowl game of last year, you had no points. I mean, in the second half, he's just a total infection on the team. And unless Freeman writes that, I'm not going to have nearly the respect I have for him, on this off season. If he doesn't find a guy that can play, coach better than him, then I'm going to lose a lot of respect for him, because it's got to be done. I've seen too much of it.
Are you all right? Let me ask this. Are you open to the idea that they get a transfer in here with a body of work, and then you kind of wipe the slate clean and see what an offense looks like with Reese, with a quarterback that could do more? Like, are you open to that this year? You might not have a choice. If he's coming back, that's your only option, is to roll with it and hope that, right? There's not much else we could do.
Exactly. There is not much else we can do, but it's going to reflect on the big man, on Marcus Freeman.
That's the
He's
ultimate
be
thing.
The one to make that grown-up change. Grown-up man. This is his record.
Yep.
Nobody's going to look at Tommy Rees and say, this is his head coaching record. This is all on Rees, on Freeman. He's got to do it for himself.
Yeah.
And you got to be cutthroat. I mean, And as far as NIL, I mean, we're going to lose that battle just because we're stingy and we think that 1950s is where it's at to want to play for Notre Dame. Well, forget about that. That's a done, forgotten deal.
Yep.
There's nobody, kids in high school, their parents are like that. They're saying, no, if you can make money now, son, stick it to them.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I mean, I remember even in the early 90s in my Chicago Catholic League, the Chicago Southside Catholic League, Lou Altz used to roll in there and just recruit on Friday nights. And anybody that he wanted, he got it. He would pull all those big boy linemen out of there, just out of that Catholic League. And they all wanted to go there, and you didn't have to worry about it. They loved Notre Dame, and they were wanting to go to Notre Dame, not the other way around. It was a different time. So
he was an icon.
Yeah. And I keep coming back to the fact that this is all year one. Freeman's going to refine the process. He's not a dummy. He's going to learn certain pitfalls, weaknesses, some vulnerabilities Notre Dame has compared to other places, and start to adjust. So this is a first time go around for him. His process is going to get better. And I'm never going to question the effort. I'm never going to question the effort. And that was the number one question I had for the last 10 years.
Yeah. But, in the same vein, you have to look at it's the first time go around for every single school because of NIL and transfer portal. I mean, it's a first time go. No one, everyone's just going with what they're allowed to do. And, if there's schools that are football schools and they know that their bread is buttered, by paying and getting these top 5 stars, that's what they're going to do because it means money to their school. And Notre Dame doesn't care as much about the money. So they'd rather keep what they have and keep the tradition of who they are, what they mean to college football and all this dinosaur thought, So for me, it's like if they don't adjust to this new name, image, likeness, transfer portal idea, I mean, it's going to put a lot of pressure on kids that are quarterbacks that are coming out of high school or 1 or 2 years in the portal. They're going to have to expect to learn that offensive game book and, run with it right away, whereas they didn't used to have to do that. But now, because of the money being thrown at them, they're going to be expected to participate at a high level right off the bat, where everyone was sitting there saying, oh, Buckner, he doesn't know the playbook, so he didn't play last year. Well, you know what? You're going to have to learn it now, and you're going to have to implement it, and you're going to have to, think on your feet when you're out there.
Yeah. You know what else I'm thinking about this week, too? Well, I'm talking about kind of overreactions to what's going to happen with one guy today, kind of overshadowing the vibe of the whole recruiting class. I'm also looking at that angle with the quarterback play in the bowl game. You haven't seen Buckner forever. We have a question of what's going to happen next year at that position. You and I both know whether it goes good or bad, it's going to be overblown times 100 just on Tyler Buckner. It's going to get overblown, good or bad. It's going to get overblown, and I'm already ready for it. Either way it goes, good on the plus or the bad.
Yeah, everything's so dire with Notre Dame fans, you know? It's like if you lose one guy, it doesn't matter if he's a 4-star.
I know. And I'm a part of that problem. I'm a part of that drama, but I can't help it. It hurts when a guy doesn't pick you. You know, it's like you ask a girl out and she says, no, you're not good enough. It hurts. You know, you just want them all, man. We take it so personally. When a kid leaves a Notre Dame class, it's like personal. It's like you have something against me. I don't know. So what are you going to do the rest of the day? Are you going to sit there and stress out about this, or are you just going to relax and check the news every couple hours?
I can't stress out about it just because we're not a football school in the sense of football schools in this day and age. You know, we're just not getting. You know, if we lose a 5-star, that's huge for us. But if Ohio State loses a 5-star, they laugh. If Alabama loses it, they laugh. Georgia, whatever. You know, but for us, it's like, oh no,
yeah,
the roof is caving in. You know,
and the other thing too, the other thing that I've been having conversations about is people need to understand nationally. No one cares about the Notre Dame fan base crying about academics or crying about losing to NIL. No one cares. Nobody else cares. Like it makes me feel weak to even bring it up as issues because it sounds like you're making excuses and crying about it. No one cares, and this stuff isn't going away. Notre Dame's got to find a way to navigate it that's workable for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. It's too much direness. You're going to get good kids because there's just too many children in the country to not get some good players that want to play for Notre Dame. So they're always going to be competitive, right?
Yeah, and the other,
no matter what.
And the other thing is too, it's like we always talk about like the developmental part of if you're not going to have the top 5 stars, you get them guys in there and develop. And I'm interested to see that too with this new staff. Some of the development in different areas, looking at it to improve.
What I see for the most part.
Yeah, and the other thing is speed. This class has a lot of just raw speed overall. That is an attribute that can be worked with everywhere that raises all ships. Like speed is a tide that raises all ships in a football program. They're trying to focus on that more. Some versatility with some guys like Hillman. I like a lot of this class. It's just, if you don't get Bowen, that's going to be the feel. And it's going to be a negative vibe, and that's going to be unfortunate.
Yeah, well, speed is always a good thing to get. But then again, we saw what Lindsey, proved out to be as a speed guy. You know, he didn't play good until like the last 2 games of the year for his whole career. So, speed is good, but there's just so much more now to contend with to bring a winner in, and especially into Notre Dame, because they're just too old-fashioned in their beliefs.
Has this ever crossed your mind? This week I had this thought right on what you said. I think I was telling somebody this on the phone. It's frustrating because I see and feel all that extra recruiting effort being put in. And then it just feels like the finish line got moved 5 miles further down the road because of things outside of Freeman's control. And I feel like that's neutering. Yeah. And I feel like that's neutering how good of an effort this has been because that ultimate result, I just feel like the finish line isn't the same one Notre Dame had under Kelly recruiting at Notre Dame. The finish line's harder to get to now than even a year or 2 ago. So there's a lot of pressure. It's so early too. Like I expect the 24 class to be better than 23 because Freeman will be another year down the road and feel out how to recruit at Notre Dame. I feel that wherever this class ends up, I think the next one should be better than it.
Yeah, but we're still seeing kids, like that kid Love and Lamar or whatever you just said. These are 2 really, really good kids, but we already have a very good running back group. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to need these kids in the next 3 and 4 years, So it hurts, when we have kids that are just looking at Notre Dame for some other school to say, well, we'll pay you.
Yeah.
And so they go, oh, you really? How much? And then it's like,
what can you
Notre Dame's
do
done.
now? Wait, now here's, and we're gonna wrap up. I want to get some other people in, but I want to bring this up
That's
to you.
good.
You have hit on 5 different bullet points I've had this week, and it's astounding to me. You've hit on all of them. Here's another angle I've been thinking of with all this. You look at the NIL stuff, or Notre Dame's in a great spot for a guy, last minute NIL leave, Notre Dame can't compete, whatever. It's one thing for us all to acknowledge this is going on and it makes Notre Dame fans upset. That is one thing to acknowledge. People taking advantage of NIL, bending the rules, that's going on. We all acknowledge that. That's going on. I want to know what Freeman thinks about all this. I want to know what he thinks personally in his mind, behind closed doors, quiet. And I want to know if this is something he has conversations about. Does he go to Swarbrick and say, Jack, I'm working my ass off here. My entire staff is too. We're doing all the right things. These guys love Notre Dame. They're buying in. And at the last minute, these checks, I can't compete. You got me breaking my neck for nothing here. Does that happen? I want to know what Freeman thinks of this dynamic. I would love to be a fly on the wall and know. What do you think about this?
I think you're absolutely right there. I think Freeman's, I hate to say it, but he's probably counting the days of going over to Ohio State after Day leaves and taking over that program where they'll spend money for him. And
I've heard that talked about.
Tradition.
The only thing that I think protects against that is that they love Brian Hartline. And Brian Hartline is a grade A recruiter cut from the same cloth as Freeman. And I think he's in line for that job. I don't think they want to let Hartline go. But trust me, it crossed my mind. Freeman gets the training wheels off at Notre Dame and then moves right in somewhere where they let him make some big moves. I've played that out in my head, and Notre Dame's going to push him out the door if you don't help him out a little bit.
Yeah. I'm hoping that, he'll have the patience with the administration, but if I don't have it as a fan, how is he going to keep it any kind of
right?
I don't see enough investment from Notre Dame, and it's literally investment.
Yeah.
It's football, and no matter how many different ways they try and color it, it's the football team that makes them a known and viable commodity for everything else in their, of what their institution represents.
That's why
it starts with football and it ends with football.
It always has, and it rubs me the wrong way when I start to feel like Notre Dame gets high and mighty with the academics sometimes, and it's like, whoa, your fancy degrees wouldn't be worth anything if Notre Dame football was not a worldwide institution. Those degrees wouldn't mean as much. That is just a fact. And you don't get to turn your back on that once you're a good academic place and have your grants and everything going. You don't get to turn your back on that. They owe it to make this a priority. I agree with you. Final thought is yours, my friend. Let it rip.
I just think it's past academics. It's just you have to pay to play now. That's all it is. You're going to have to fork over money to these kids because that's what the rules are. So until they can honestly look at that objectively and say, okay, I get it. We have to pay these kids to play. And, that's how we're going to be able to keep our reputation in football and in academics. But if they don't see it, then we're never going to be, to the place where all of us want us to be.
Well, we'll see how it goes. And I do believe if anybody could get anything changed with the administration regarding this kind of thing, it would be Freeman because of his personality. People want to work with him. They want to listen to him. They want to talk to him. They feel that he's coming from a genuine place in a way no one could feel about Kelly. And I think that's going to have an impact too of what he's able to do infrastructure wise behind the scenes. Really good call, my friend. Thank you very much. And if I don't talk to you, have a really good Christmas. We'll be back for the pregame week next week.
Thanks a lot, John. And the same to you and all the Notre Dame faithful.
Fantastic. Take care, my friend. I hope Santa Claus drops some recruits down the chimney for you. All right, 773. Then we're going Dr. John and 618. Pat, what's going on?
Oh, okay. That was interesting listen.
What
I actually call it because...
Yeah, what do you got? You're talking about this money. What do you got?
Well, first of all, the St. Notre Dame doesn't invest in the football team. Look at the stadium. Look at the athletic facilities. Look at the new indoor practice facility they just built. I mean, they have poured billions of dollars into this. Tommy Rees flies across the country to do recruiting in a private jet. I'm talking about the offensive coordinator. When Brian Kelly took the job, they used to make him take a freaking train. I mean, the program has progressed rapidly under Jack Swabrick, and I'm not the biggest Jack Swabrick fan, but to say that Notre Dame doesn't invest, it's I'm sorry, it's an asinine comment. Notre Dame absolutely has invested. They poured billions of dollars into what makes them money, and they know what makes them money. And it's not like when the basketball, the president of the University, the priest, who was the basketball guy, he hires Wadsworth to get rid of Lou Holtz, and then he completely abandons the football program for 10 years. And you get Bob Davie and Ty Willingham and all the other schmucks that they had at coaches. They have an organization that is set up to make sure the football team exists, and it does exist. And they're spending millions upon millions upon millions of dollars on this football team. And they're doing things that they've never done before. They are paying these students. I don't care what anyone says. These football players are getting paid money by the university to be there. There is an NAIL deal with these players, so they are paying them. On the flip side, I have a standard for Notre Dame, John, and I know you have a standard for Notre Dame. I don't want Notre Dame paying these kids millions of dollars to come here. I'm sorry, but at some point we got to draw a line. Why do you love Notre Dame, John? Do you love Notre Dame because they make millions of dollars for the school? Or do you love Notre Dame because it's a family thing? It represented something that nothing else in college football represented. And that's why you go there and you participate in it. I mean, seriously, do we want to be the school that's paying $5 million to get some kid out of Florida because he runs a 4.3 40? Or do we want to be the school that represents education, Catholic values, and winning on the football field?
How do you
win on the football field?
Let me ask you this. Very, very fair points. Why does it have to be all one or the other? Isn't there a way to thread the needle? Like there's got to be a way to thread the needle where Notre Dame doesn't get every one of their top recruits poached at the very last minute because they can't compete. Like, I'm asking for reasonable, competitive middle ground. Thread the needle.
Okay, for the people saying I don't get it, you don't get Notre Dame if you think it's just all about winning. Notre Dame is more. Okay, so those comments are as stupid as they can possibly be, and we are threading the needle, John. They are paying these kids money. Dante Moore was going to come to Notre Dame. He just got a better offer. All right. Fine.
But you know how it's going to go. You know how it's going to go with this fan base, though.
If his dad wants him to get more money, he can go get more money.
Right. But you understand why the fan base is always going to say whatever resources they're putting in, it's not enough. If we don't get the guy, they're going to say it's not enough. Like whether it's 10 million or 1 million, somebody's always going to say it's not enough. You're not going further enough. Always. Right.
No, sure. But look at Ohio State's recruiting class. How many kids have they lost in the last 2 weeks? They're talking about kids that are getting $5 million offers.
Yeah.
And Ohio State can't pay that money.
Yeah, I did find it entertaining this morning.
What's going to happen?
All the Ohio State people were mad this morning. It made me happy. They're like, this Ryan Day recruiting class is unimpressive. I hate it. It's like, wow, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, right. And then talking about, well, Notre Dame's got to pay these kids more money. They got to pay these. Notre Dame has the third-ranked recruiting class in the country, and they're not doing that. They're not doing that. Not every kid is out there for the payday. There are intelligent people in this world that have a family around them who can play football. Seriously, right. This is the perfect comment. We lost one kid to money, and everyone is acting like the whole class is apart. Holy Christ. This is insane. He's got the third best recruiting class in the country. He is kicking SEC teams' asses. He is blowing out Big Ten teams. He is losing to Alabama and Georgia, the two best programs in the country. That's it. He's getting the kids, and he's not forking over millions of dollars. And, John, this isn't even the reason I freaking called.
What's the reason you called? Wish me a Merry Christmas.
Oh, no, you'll get that text later, Jagoff. The Tommy Rees hate. The Tommy Rees hate. I swear to God, I don't understand the Tommy Rees hate. People say, well, he's never recruited a kid. I'm sorry. Do you think we were into Dante Moore conversations because the kid was just wanted to go to Notre Dame and we didn't pay enough money? Or was Tommy Rees his lead recruiter? Tommy Rees was his lead recruiter. CJ Carr is Tommy Rees's lead recruiter. He's getting these quarterbacks. People just say, oh, well, he didn't get them before. Brian Kelly didn't get him before. These kids at least want to have a conversation with the head coach, these quarterbacks, and he wouldn't talk to them.
That's a problem. That's kind of an issue, isn't it?
Exactly. No shit.
Deshaun Kaiser was Kaiser was like, yeah, I kind of talked to him a couple minutes on a visit, and then I like Notre Dame and I committed, but I didn't really know the guy.
Yeah, of course the kid wants it, especially the quarterback wants to talk to the head coach at Notre Dame. And if the head coach at Notre Dame doesn't want to, that's why you get these guys. That's why you get a Drew Pine. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Drew Pine had a good year. He wasn't great, but he had a good year. And I credit Tommy Rees for that. I mean, we all remember the video where Tommy's sitting there screaming at him, and the kid turned around and he started moving the team down the field. And Notre Dame ended up winning that game. All right? Tommy Rees calls a good offense. If Tommy Rees sucks when CJ Carr is the quarterback, fine. I will say fire Tommy Rees. But seriously, people are still pissed at Tommy Rees because Brian Kelly wouldn't pull him out of the freaking game in 2011 or because he kicked a cop in the balls because he was an underage drinking, just like every other person who's in this chat room running their mouth. You are hating Tommy Rees for the wrong freaking reason. Watch his offenses.
Oh man, can I just say how happy it makes me that it's 9:52 in the morning and you're this worked up? I really love it. I miss it. I like it.
The only person that can do that to me, John, is you, my wife, and my kid.
That's a compliment, man. That's a compliment. Pat, it's nothing is ever black and white with Notre Dame. Every issue that comes up, there is this gray debate area with everybody who loves Notre Dame, but half on one side, half on the other. All of this stuff, it's going to get more complicated, Pat. The further this all goes, the more there's going to have to be to consider. I don't think it's going to get any easier.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. And you know what? College football is imploding internally. It's imploding. This transfer portal and this NIL deal is going to destroy the NCAA. And if people don't realize what that means, they're too stupid to actually participate in this conversation. You want the NCAA to be destroyed.
Yeah.
You want these schools to go and set up its own organization, and then they are going to go and limit this crap. Okay?
Yeah.
There is a negative to it,
I think
but
you're right
going
with
to
that.
create a positive.
Yeah, I think what if they were smart, they would line it up with the creation of the new playoff format and then break off and say we're creating our own body with that as the main thing.
And it's happening.
And then you could do all that.
These conversations are happening.
Man, Pat, you are a perfect caller because half the people in the chat say you make perfect sense and the other half say you have no idea what you're talking about. That is a perfect caller. Perfect caller.
Tommy Rees thinks it's a good idea to put a tight end under center. Well, okay.
It worked 8 out of 9 times. It worked 8 out of 9 times.
Hey, but that one time, fire his ass. That guy sucks. Hey, Marcus Freeman lost to Marshall. Fire his ass.
Pat, it is 50-50. Half these people think you're a genius. Half think you're an idiot. And then the remainers are all the sex bots. So I don't know who to believe. I think I'm gonna click on the sex bot one and see what happens. Pat, why did you get all worked up? I didn't mean to do this to you.
You didn't do it to me. Your followers did.
Hey, man, it's an open chat. We're open. We just see what comes our way, and then we adjust to it. Pat, I'll let's transition a little bit, and let me say this. Marcus Freeman has that little bit of an it factor that I've been begging for that hasn't been available since Lou. I feel that. I know what I'm looking for. I feel it in him. If Notre Dame really does have some higher end potential here, a guy like him is going to be the one to figure it out. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah. Like I said, I told you the last time we talked, or I think I texted you. There's a huge difference in the administration with the Marcus Freeman coach versus a Brian Kelly coach, because people actually like Marcus Freeman. He's not an asshole who looks down on everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
And that is playing a part. He comes to a meeting and says, how can we figure this out? How can we get a kid who wants to transfer from Miami of Ohio, as an example, we'll just throw it out there, whatever came to mind. And he's got the ability, he's got the grades, but he doesn't have the appropriate credits. How can we get this kid into the school? And he comes and he asks that question, can you help me out? Brian Kelly wouldn't even go to that meeting. Brian Kelly would go in front of the press and say, the administration doesn't want to help us. And what the administration going to do? They're going to say, F you, dude. We don't care about you. We got our own stuff that we got to worry about. You don't even come and talk to us, because that's what he did. And if people don't understand the transition that this program has to be Brian Kelly defied. He has to be removed. You're not going to do that in one season. He was the head coach for 12 years. You are not going to fix his quarterback room in one season. You are not going to fix his wide receiver room in one season. Okay, you're not going to fix the lack of depth on defense in one season. That crap is not going to happen. It takes time. Like I told you the last time I was on here, 8-4 was a really good year for Marcus Freeman. He should have been better than 8-4, but for his first year coming out of what he had, it was a very good first year. And he is going to excel because he is recruiting in the era where kids can be legally bought, and he is pulling top 5 classes. Brian Kelly is buying kids and not pulling a top 5 class at LSU where you don't even have to read.
Man, people are loving this, Pat. Dave 86, this caller's the best one you've had in a long time. It's almost like there's a natural repertoire there between us, or something, a natural rapport or something.
People don't understand the amount of times you and I have done this over beer.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine that. Oh, Pat, this is are you guys ready for Christmas? You're not afraid of this blizzard, are you? You guys all set?
No, I don't care about the blizzard. I mean, I did go fill up the snowblower because I have to do all the neighbors' houses too, but I don't care about the blizzard.
Well, that's nice of you, Pat. Any final thoughts here? I'm going to get some other thoughts going, but people love your energy, Patrick. You're the all-star caller so far.
I wish people would be more patient. Marcus Freeman, it's going to take time. Lou Holtz didn't win a national championship in his first year. Eric Parsegian didn't win he almost did, but he didn't win a national championship in his first year. Dan Devine didn't win a national championship in his first year. Coming off of an Eric Parsegian, it takes time. It takes time. Give this guy time. He's shown nothing but growth, and he's shown nothing but proper evidence that he can do this. Okay? He can. He has turned this team around after they lose to Marshall, and he goes on a winning streak. He has recruited the best players Notre Dame has seen since Lou Holtz was coaching. He's added more depth in this class this program has ever had. And is that Rudy?
Yeah. Yes, it is. That's why I put that. That's why I put that up there. She's having flashbacks hearing me and you, Rudy. Angela Rudiger sitting there wrapping Christmas gifts, and the first thing she hears is me and you. That poor woman. She's having some major flashbacks for me and you.
Me back to parties now in college, Johnny.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't talked to Rudy in forever.
Yeah, well, she hears us talking today.
Hey, Andy, how are you? No, he knows what he's doing. He is building a program. And like the last caller's comment about he might go to Ohio State, I don't think that's in the cards for this guy. I think he likes where he's at. He likes what he's doing. He just converted to Catholicism. He knows he can build a legacy very few people in college football can build. No one cares about Urban Meyer and what he did about Ohio State. All people remember about Urban Meyer is his failure in Jacksonville. Okay, no one's going to care about Ryan Day. No one cares about those coaches who are at a place for a short amount of time. They care about those coaches who come in and they build something and they remember for it. And Marcus Freeman wants to do that at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman is going to do that at Notre Dame. He's got an unprecedented time he has to navigate. No coach in college football is totally sure on how this works. And some programs like Oregon with Nike and Texas A&M with all their oil money and Alabama just because it's Nick Saban, they have an unfair advantage. And that's okay because Notre Dame has a standard. And I want Notre Dame to continue that standard. We will not buy. We will not cheat. We will not steal. We will earn it the right way. And now we can grow with the times. We can grow with the times, but we need to earn it the right way. And the more that Marcus Freeman grows in this job and learns how to navigate these waters, the better he will get. And I swear this man, he has made a believer out of me in this first season. And I think he is going to do by Notre Dame what no coach has done since Louisville.
Telling you, Pat, you're the perfect caller. It's 50-50. Half of them think you're on the spot and the other half think you were drinking vodka for breakfast. And you might be, but you could be on the spot. All right, Pat, this is a fantastic call.
People, hold on, John. Hold on, John.
Yeah.
There's standards don't win championships. I'd rather have my standards and no championships than just be another person out there living a crap of a life.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, standards matter.
Yeah, I understand that.
And standards go both ways.
Yeah, and I get that because at that point, you're winning, but you're not winning the Notre Dame way. That would feel dirty to a lot of Notre Dame people that truly hold those values. I get it, Pat. I get it, but I also think if Notre Dame's going to do it, Freeman be the guy to break through, and I'm encouraged. He's just getting started. It's so early. He's just going to get better at all this.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, Pat.
Go back to work.
Merry Christmas, Pat. Get back to work, and then I'll come out there and drink a beer with you. Miss you.
Sounds good.
Later.
Bring Rudy with.
Good call. She don't want to see you. She wants to see me, though. Later, Pat. Bye. Nobody wants to see Pat. They want to. This caller's going into a fit of rage, and I love it. Yeah, you can almost tell him and I have been real-life friends for 20 years. It's all we do. We used to just drink and get mad about football. Dr. John, is the DJ techno party over at your house or what?
God, I love this show.
John, I'm telling you, you called me twice somehow, and when I answered one of them, they echoed through the other one, and it sounded like a techno dance party.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck that was, but I'm kind of glad it happened because I went from you took that next call and I got so hot under the collar, and then you took the next call, which cooled me off, but I still got a comment on a couple of things that first caller said. But before I do that, you got a blizzard coming in, but here's the good news, John. At 3:47 today, the sun's going to start coming back.
Oh, wow.
Happy solstice to you.
Wow. So wait, what do you mean? The day, is that when the days start getting longer again a little bit is what you're telling me, or what?
You got it. You probably won't notice it for a couple of days, but yeah, 3:47, the sun is, well, actually we're going back to the sun, but, anyway, I love the way this show keeps everything in perspective for me. You know, okay, so we got a war in Ukraine and we got an earthquake out in California. But, I mean, this is what the world's all about is Notre Dame football. And I just love it. I just love it.
Well, listen, John, I really like when I don't want everybody who calls to just always agree with me or what the main point is. Like, I like people that mix it up a little bit. I like having different opinions in the chat as long as they're reasonable. And people that disagree but have logical points behind their reasonings. I love that kind of debate.
Well, I do too. And those two calls back to back were the perfect example, I think. So, but the 2 points I want to address was, first of all, Reed. I mean, I got to trust my head coach. I think he knows where it's at, and if he thinks Reeves is what he wants, then man, I'm behind him. Go ahead and prove him wrong. The other thing is on NIL. Notre Dame has changed over the years. I put this in chat last week. Until they hired Eric Parsegan, it was always, we got to hire a Notre Dame guy. But they finally figured out you got to hire somebody that knows how to coach. You don't want a Terry Brennan. You don't want a Joe Kuharich. You want an Eric Parsegan. Okay, he's not a Notre Dame guy, but he's a coach. He knows how to do it. And I think they're evaluating this NIL, and whether they will do anything, I don't know. But they've changed stuff in the past. They'll change stuff in the future.
Yeah, and a part of this, I have been told behind the scenes, I have been told the vibe with Notre Dame and NIL is kind of one of wait and see what happens with this first cycle of it, and look at the fallout, look at the positives, look at the negatives, look at the changes, and then kind of navigate from there. But I do wonder what Freeman thinks behind closed doors. If he thinks, man, this sucks, I do all I can the right way and I just can't get over the hump with it. Or if that's not in his mind, I just wonder what he thinks.
Well, yeah, we all wonder what he thinks, but here's the thing. We're on the outside looking in. We have no idea what conversations have been going on with he and the administration. We got to wait and see. Yeah, voice your frustrations, but you got to wait and see what's going to happen. And maybe you won't like it. And then if you want to bail, bail. But, like I said, I've been doing this Notre Dame crap for 76 years.
Is that it?
And,
why don't you show some loyalty? Show some loyalty. Is that all you got? Come on.
Hey, man.
Show some pride.
I've run what?
I said, show some pride. That's not a lot of effort.
No, you know what? I used to just twist myself horribly when Notre Dame was doing bad. And it still doesn't feel good. But I've got it a little more in perspective. Of course, I've taken a long time to do it. But, I think we try to do things right. That doesn't mean that we don't do some things that I'd probably disagree with. I'm not going to say we're the prima donna because, we've made mistakes and I'm sure we've done stuff that we're not proud of.
Yeah.
But it's football. I love it. It's only football. No, it's not. It's Notre Dame football.
Yeah.
But that's because we got this internal thing in us.
Yep.
For whatever reason, you know what? It's like a virus.
But no, John,
no
it makes perfect sense to me. It makes perfect sense to me. This has come to me over the couple decades I've been following Notre Dame. The reason it feels so different, and it's more than just football with Notre Dame, is unlike some schools where it's purely geographic, religion and heritage play into this with Notre Dame a lot. And that gets woven in the fabric of the entire thing to where it's all baked in one cake together. When you add religion and heritage, that's why I take it personal when Notre Dame's good or bad. It feels like a personal insult to my people when we're bad. And I want it to be good. That's how I feel.
I know.
That's how I feel. I take it as a personal affront to Irish Catholics when we're bad and we get made fun of, and I don't like it, Dr. John.
Well, it certainly used to be that way big time. But I'm switching gears here. Now, I've got a couple of red flags on this recruiting thing. I just looked at the signees, and what the heck are we getting kids out of Canada for?
Hey, Chase Claypool was from Canada, wasn't he?
Who was?
One of them receivers, Chase Claypool, I think, was from Canada. Or Boykin, one of them two big guys was from Canada. I think it was Claypool was from Canada.
Well, you know what? They may prove me wrong, but I didn't know they played. They played football.
What about
It was all lacrosse and hockey?
What do you think about Kelly getting Ahrensberger out of Germany a couple years ago? Then you think Canada's wild? He pulled that D-line guy out of freaking Germany.
Yeah, well, wasn't he he was really an American kid over there, right? Wasn't his dad in the service or something?
I don't think so, because his name was Ahrensberger. That sounds pretty European to me, the Ahrensberger.
I'm just trying to save face because I don't remember the situation.
Yeah, it was a few years ago.
It's all about saving face, John.
Oh,
hey, okay, I'm going to cut you loose in a minute, but I got an idea for a show, at least what I'd like to see. I'd like to see you talk about that wall behind you one of these days. If there, some of that memorabilia, if there's stories behind it, I'd love to hear it.
You know what? That's a damn good idea. I've had a couple other people ask, and some of it does have unique stories to it, and some of it doesn't. That's a really good kind of in-between season idea there. Good thinking.
You got one piece on your wall that I got on my wall too. It's the one where Notre Dame is spelled out through different doors and different.
Isn't that cool?
On campus.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, John, let me tell you.
On the wall too.
Let me tell you. I hope you have a relaxing Christmas with your family, and all that, and I next week's going to be fun. We'll be building back into the last game of the year. That's going to be fun. But John, I mean, you're the hero of the call-in line every week. I want you to have a relaxing, good Christmas, my friend.
Okay, but before I go, you opened up a can of worms last week when you started giving wedding advice.
Yeah.
You remember that? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now, so now we can talk more than football on this show. I'm gonna put a link in the chat because it's solstice. Richie Havens has a rendition of George Harrison, "Here Comes the Sun," that just blows my mind the way they build it at the beginning. So I'm going to say happy solstice to everybody watching, and I'm going to put that link to a Haven song on the link, and I hope people check it out and enjoy it. So
beautiful.
Anyway, buddy, I love this show. It's so much fun. And like you said, those two calls back to back were just a microcosm of what this show is about. It's just so much fun.
I really appreciate it.
I will hopefully talk to you next week before I fly to Minnesota. Oh, by the way, it's about 36 degrees colder here than it is in Chicago. It's 15 below right now.
Oh, and look at me complaining. We haven't even gotten hit with it yet, and I'm complaining. Man, we'll stay bundled up, my friend, and have a good, relaxing Christmas, and then we'll start worrying about the bowl game.
All right. Enjoy your blizzard.
There you go. Merry Christmas, my friend. Dr. John, everybody. The one and only Dr. John, 618. Sorry to make you wait.
Oh, how you doing, my man? How you doing today, John?
I'm doing very well. It's been kind of a
Yeah.
it's a lively day, man. People are kind of all over the board here, and I want to just let people have their say. What's on your mind this morning, this early signing
Yeah,
day?
yeah. I'm calling in about these, like the 5 stars, man. I mean, I played college football, but it's not a program in the country that can get every single 5 star that's out there. You might get a couple programs that get 3 to 4, and that's like unusual year. But man, you don't get no more than about maybe 2 or 3 5 stars a year. Even the Alabamas of the world don't get no more than about 2 or 3 5 stars a year.
Yeah. So then, in your mind, then is it more about finding some good, floor athletes where you know what they can do, and then you focus more on development and teamwork and building together? Like, is that more the angle then?
Yeah, you got kids that's not 5 stars. That's better than these 5 star kids, man. These 5 star kids rarely ever work out.
Yeah, it's hard. And you know what else, man, that I look at? When you look back at Jimbo Fisher a couple years ago, when they had like 8 5 stars signed, and the word was it was all that oil money behind the scenes and all that, didn't really work out for him. That seems to have crumbled there culturally. So I think you got to be careful when you're doing some of that as well.
Yeah, and but to go back to the one call, I mean, I know morals is everything, but man, this is also a business, man. And you're talking about, I understand that he want to win, but you don't want to see a revolving door in the coaches. You're not moral. Well, the first thing, the head coach can say, "Hey, I did morals," and they looking at like, "No, what about the winning?"
Yeah.
These coaches get based on how they win, not morals to the program.
Yeah, but I also know, and as a Notre Dame show, how seriously they take that, and that moral part of it is always going to mean more at Notre Dame than it does a lot of these other places. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, better or worse. You know how Notre Dame is with their uppity everything and all the more. And I don't think it's going away.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. You're supposed to have your morals, but when it's time for that coach to be fired, he say, "Hey, I went by your morals."
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I went by your morals. And
yeah.
They're not trying to hear that. Hey, you went by my morals.
Yeah,
they want to say, "Hey."
And so that's where I come to a point where I want to know where Freeman falls on all this with the NIL and the top end money it takes to get those guys. I just wonder if Freeman rolls with it, rolls through it, moves on, or if it bothers him and he's behind the scenes with Swarbrick saying, "What can I do to stay competitive, or what can we do?" I genuinely wonder what Freeman thinks about that dynamic and where Notre Dame is placed in it.
Mm-hmm. And you got to think these football factories, and these kids are also looking like, how do I get to the NFL? Okay, the NIL deal is good. I mean, it's good, but I want something bigger. Who can get me into the NFL? And you can say whatever you want to say about Nick Saban. People can say, but he's getting kids to the NFL. He's getting kids to that next level compared to, and I see kids that commit to him, and then boom, they've been 4 stars for a whole year and a half from the beginning of their junior year to the day that they commit to Alabama. Now they become 5 stars.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, that happens. I don't know, man. I feel like if anybody could thread this needle, it's going to be Freeman. His work ethic, what he requires of the staff, the way he communicates, the energy level, the vibe. It all lines up. If anybody can navigate this era the right way for Notre Dame, I believe it's this guy. Do you believe in Freeman that way as well?
Yeah, I believe in Freeman. Even like after the Marshall game, he's not the right coach. Yes, he is. I mean, every coach, they don't know what we inherited. They just looking at, hey, we was ranked number 5.
Yep. I say that all the time, man. There were holes. If you looked entering this year, there were obvious holes where it shouldn't have surprised you if something went wrong. There really were, man. There were obvious holes on that roster, and everybody knew it. And that was even before the quarterback went down. Even if the plan went great, you didn't know what you were going to get in a healthy Buckner. Rough year, man. Rough year one. I'm excited to get further away from this, and Freeman can do more of his thing.
He did something that Brian Kelly didn't do. He went out and beat a top 5 team. Brian Kelly would have folded against Clemson.
Oh, here's what would have happened. Here's what would have happened. Kelly would have found a way to win ugly games against Marshall and Stanford that we complain about, but it's a win. But then he would have lost it to the top end teams because that's what he did every year.
Yeah, and the schedule was easy. Notre Dame has never had an easier path to any season than the 12 years they had with Brian Kelly. The schedule was easy for him to run through. He didn't have them big ranked opponents like the Lou Holtz had, or even the Charlie Weiss even had. They lowered. Notre Dame had a standard on it. If they want to talk about standard, Notre Dame football always had a standard on their schedule, how they scheduled their games. Brian Kelly lowered the standard of how they scheduled the games.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know, man. I struggle with all this. I just do. I can't separate out. Here's what I have problems with this year, man. How much do I separate out where things went wrong and say, this was preparation, mentality, game planning, execution, like stuff week to week, versus how much do I blame some of what I saw I didn't like on holes in the roster, not enough depth in certain areas, not enough experience in certain areas that was inherited. I have had trouble parsing out blame this year when I'm trying to analyze that. You get what I'm asking? Like, I have a hard time knowing what to blame sometimes.
And with Marcus Freeman, you're in the bed with some of these kids that Brian Kelly would have never recruited. He would have never went out and went that far to an extent to try to recruit a Dante Moore, try to recruit. Even though he got Keon Keeley even though he didn't get Keon Keeley to commit, but he still committed to a team that Brian Kelly was coaching at the time. And man, this guy Marcus Freeman, I mean, what more could you ask for him as a recruiter? I mean, I still think Bowen signs with Notre Dame. The longer this plays out, I think Bowen signs. I mean, I got being from the Houston area and knowing somebody who stays in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, man, he say that, man, it's no problem. He's going to sign. He's going to go to Notre Dame.
Man, that'd be a huge win. Not only practically, perceptually, what that would represent would be a major win for Marcus Freeman, overcoming some of what's been talked about behind the scenes that he's up against. If Freeman's able to do that, that is a big feather in the cap, and it's going to open a lot of eyes. That would be a hell of a good job.
Because it's like I told you 2 weeks ago, it's nothing that Oklahoma can offer. They're going to be, if Venables is not getting kids to go to the NFL, these kids ain't just looking at NIL, they also looking at where can I get to the next step.
Yeah.
If Freeman could get kids in and get them going out to the NFL, these kids will come. I don't care what NIL deal that they give. I spoke to a guy a couple of nights ago. I mean, through Twitter. Well, I guess DM through the Twitter, and I told him, man, look, St. Louis should have started with Luther Burden for Notre Dame. It shouldn't have started this year. It should have started with Luther Burden. Burden had the grades. Burden went to a Catholic school before he transferred over to East St. Louis. It should have started with Luther Burden. And that would have started getting the other kids in. Like, this 2023 class is going to play big for the 2024 class because you still got Wingo. You still got them kids in the St. Louis area. You still got kids that's out there that they're going to need. Notre Dame right now, they need to recruit the St. Louis area, the Chicago area, and they need to get, you need to throw them areas up.
They're starting to get back more into Texas too, and I'm all for that. They're starting to get back into Texas, and they want to make Texas a big priority moving forward. And what I like about that is you can attack Texas and in some ways hit some of that talent pool, but without competing all in the Southeast for all that talent, where it's going to be way harder to pull out of the SEC area. I like Notre Dame work in Texas. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
And Texas is religion, or football's religion in Texas. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from that Houston area. Man, Friday nights it's like going to church on Sunday.
Yeah. And I can't believe, man, when I look at some of those stadium setups they have for a high school football, some of those stadiums are gorgeous. It's beautiful, man.
Especially the Allen Stadium. That could rival some college stadiums.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm always jealous of that. So I don't know, my friend. What do you think here?
A lot of the stars, people they get caught up into the stars, man. Don't get caught up into the stars, because most of them 5-star kids, they don't really work out. That's the reason why you see them transferring from year to year, because they're not working out. So you look into talent. Great House I got a friend that son played against Great House this year. He said, man, he's a monster. Notre Dame got probably one of the best receivers in the country through Great House, is what he told me. I have never seen Great House play because I've been gone for 3 years, but he said, man, dude, he's one of the best players in the country. He's one of the best wide receivers in the country. I don't know why he's not a 5-star.
Yep. And
I've seen Christian Gray play.
I'm telling you, man, and it's talent in areas you need. Like, we need an influx of talent at wide receiver. James Greathouse Flores, love it. Bring it in. Let's go. Let's get some more. Like, I love all that. Like, the talent is rising. It is. The talent's rising. If you take nothing else out of today, know that Notre Dame's talent level is getting better. There.
And I tell you what, if they can figure out a way, if they think that the St. Louis area, that the schools that they're going to got the best talent, if they can figure out a way and figure out something and see what these kids doing it and what the grades are in East St. Louis, if they could get into an East St. Louis and get that talent out of that school, man, that's like the best talent in probably in the Midwest.
Yep, and it's a good geographical area for Notre Dame too, like in the same area, head south. I like your plan. So I don't know, man. What do you think happens? Notre Dame land Bowen. We all end up in a great mood today. Wrap up.
I don't think they
so?
land Bowen in the early signing period, because I think. I'm not saying. I'm just thinking. I'm just basing it off opinion. I do think that Marcus Freeman went in there and said, "Hey, take as much time with this as possible. Remember the reason why you committed to Notre Dame." Because we don't even know if the in-house meeting happened with Oklahoma. Because, I mean, speaking to my buddy, he said he don't even know if it happened. He was supposed to go visit Oklahoma over the weekend. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think that he lands with Notre Dame. You know, you girlfriends come and go. You a high school student. You know, girlfriends come and go.
Yep.
You know, if he lands in the next couple of days and sign with Notre Dame,
dude,
I think that's
my
great,
idea, I know I'm going to get the guy in trouble. My idea was very simple. You have a girlfriend in Notre Dame and you have one in Norman, Oklahoma. What? I mean, I'm just saying, I ain't trying to cause this guy problem, but when you're 18 years old, you don't need one girlfriend. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Especially if you're a big
You
baller
don't.
athlete. You got one in different area codes like Ludacris said, all right?
Unless you're going to use the NIL money to do a wedding, and I doubt if you're going to do that.
Too early for that, man. Way too early for that. Like, I don't know. So, man, listen, I appreciate the phone call. I just feel like the arrow's pointing up. Freeman's going to calibrate things out. The process is going to get better the more we go along. The arrow's trending up for Notre Dame. We're going in the right direction. That's my big takeaway, man.
And I also think that, man, the 2024, don't worry. Hey, let's not worry about the 2023 class, because this is first full class. Let's see what he do in 2024 beyond that.
2024, I expect to be better than this class. He's another year away from Kelly, another year into his process. It's perfectly fine to have that goal that it gets better. I think it will.
All right. You have a good one, John.
You too, man. Merry Christmas. Have a safe holiday season. And then we'll start next week with the bowl show. So we'll get right into game week. It'll be fun, man. Thanks for the call. What a nice guy. I love it when he calls. 224, give me some more. Hello. Hello, darkness, my old friend. This guy's not here again. Put me on a hold, fell asleep. That's what happened to him. Let's try 513. You're talking to me.
Hello.
Hey, good morning. What's going on?
Oh, sorry. Hey, John.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you.
All right. I kind of wanted to actually pivot a bit away from today's signing day and talk about the transfer portal for quarterbacks, because there's been some recent developments where you had Devin Leary commit to Kentucky, and Pratt is staying at Tulane. And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on, if it's a wise decision to do what they're doing, which is apparently going all in on Sam Hartman from Wake. It kind of reminds me a bit of the more recruitment where, they're really pinning all their hopes on one guy. And unlike that, they won't have a plan B that's as good as Kenny Minchie if they miss on Hartman. So I kind of just wanted to get your opinions on that.
First off, thanks for the call, my friend. Appreciate it. Here's what I think Notre Dame's situation is right now. I think that Notre Dame's trying to protect itself from the situation they were in last year, where you end up with a guy with no experience. You have no idea what you're going to get. And that was going to be Buckner. And then when he got hurt, then you had to go to a guy you didn't want to start. I don't think Notre Dame wants to be in that position again. So that's why they're looking at a transfer to compete with Buckner and Minchie, I guess. But then my question is, if you're a transfer, why would you transfer if you have a year left if you're not guaranteed to be the starter? I always come back to that. Do you think about that as well?
I do, but I also think that if you're someone like Hartman, who's a proven commodity and has shown to be a very successful quarterback over 4 years, you're not concerned over somebody like Tyler Buckner, who really hasn't proven a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, I don't think that would be enough to scare him off. But again, the biggest concern for me is that they're really just kind of going all in on him, and I don't see any viable options outside of him. I mean, if you look at
what about where's Sanders going? The Oklahoma State guy, isn't he in the portal?
He is, but I am personally not very high on him. I think a lot of people are fooled by the one good half of football he played against them in the Fiesta Bowl. That's just my opinion, going off of what I've seen of him the last 3 years at Oklahoma State, that one half was an aberration.
Yeah.
And my concern is if they strike out in the portal, they're going to be left with just Buckner and Angeli. And, again, you're back to square one where you were last year, where you don't have it.
Yeah.
And Minchie, but
But the point is, exactly. The point is the one you're making, which I keep saying, it is not normal or healthy to be a big boy brand college football program. And then every August, when you gather to join for summer camp, they say about the quarterback position, we don't know. There's a lot of potential. If everything comes together, it's a competition. Wait and see. That is not normal, and it is not healthy. And it's the way Notre Dame is every single year. That is not stable in any way. And Notre Dame has to get off of that track sometime soon.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I think it's very reasonable to be optimistic about Minchie and Carr in the future. But that's 2-3 years down.
Exactly, but that's the problem. Everything we talk about is always 2 to 3 years later, and then it's 10 years later, and we're still looking 2 years later. Everything with this that we kick down the road, never, ever, that time period never happens.
So then what is the solution? I mean,
I'll tell you
Do
the
you throw
solution.
somebody
No.
like Minchie in?
Here's the damn solution. And it isn't as hard as Notre Dame makes it. Here's the solution. You recruit a guy with elite traits, and then you develop them, and then you have 2 to 3 years of elite quarterback play. That's the path. Recruit a guy with physical gifts that are elite, then hone them through development like a normal big boy program. That's the path.
Okay.
We can't
So what
stay on
happens,
it. We don't know where the path starts or ends, but I'm telling you, that's the path, my friend.
Well, and I know there was a caller, maybe a half hour or so ago that was defending Reese pretty hard, and I think that this is the biggest critique of Reese. It's not necessarily the X's and O's or structuring offense. It's that he's not done a very good job of recruiting and developing QBs, at least not at the elite level. You can talk about he did a good job with Book, who was not an elite player, but he got a lot out of him. But that's like we saw. You're going to run into a ceiling when you play in Alabama or Clemson in the playoff. And you've got to figure out how to get that position squared away. Otherwise, there's just no way, unless you're Georgia, where you've got 25 stars on offense and defense, that you're going to win with a quarterback that's just a game manager. It's just not going to happen.
Yep, you're right. And I think Freeman knows that too. And I think that's why a lot of this is frustrating for everybody involved. But Notre Dame's path long-term is not a Band-Aid transfer quarterback every year. Notre Dame's going to hit their sweet spot in the Freeman era when it overlaps with a homegrown quarterback that develops with the young skill talent around him and the line, and everybody develops together. That's Notre Dame's sweet spot. This Jack Cohn, whatever they're doing this year, these are Band-Aids till they find that guy to hitch their wagon to. But it can't just always be maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, because I've aged 15 years and haven't seen that ever come through on the back end.
Yeah. But, just real quick, though, getting back to the question earlier, though, what would be the best, outcome for quarterback in 2023 going into next year?
The best outcome would probably be Tyler Buckner's healthy and looks great. How would that not be like the ideal one? Because you would have him around longer than like a 1-year transfer guy's one and done. You got to win and then they're out. There's no development at all. Wouldn't the best dynamic be if Buckner stayed healthy and was really, really good? Because then you have Minchie and Carr and that all in the same mix. Is that not the best outcome?
I think that is ultimately the best outcome. But the biggest question, and you brought that up, is the if healthy with Buckner.
Yep.
To me, I don't know if you can count on that.
Nope. And it's not his fault. I'm not calling him soft. I'm not saying any of that.
No.
I am just going by the facts that every time I need him to do something, a fight with the stairs happen or a dumb injury happens. I hate it for him. He's got to be so frustrated.
Oh, yeah, I can understand that. And like you said, it's not his fault. It's not an indication that he's soft in any way. But, sometimes you're just snake bitten. Guys, once they get hurt, they keep getting hurt, and you're just in that endless cycle.
Yeah.
And
the other thing is, man, I feel really bad for him, not only on the injury front, but then he tried to transfer high schools to play better competition his senior year, which is a great idea. And then COVID knocked that out. And then he ends up, they want to bring Cohn in, and then he has to ride the bench that year. Like, his track is delayed about 3 to 4 legitimate practical years, and it's nobody's fault. And it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I had, so I'll let you get going. But thank you for taking my call.
Hey, listen, man, I really appreciate the call. We'll be live again all next week leading up to the bowl game. But I feel in my heart and soul Notre Dame hitching their wagon to a young guy with a lot of upside, letting all the team develop around him for a few years. For Notre Dame, that feels to me like the home run area you want to get to. That's just the way I look at it.
Well, thank you.
No problem, man. Have a good one. Merry Christmas. Thanks for the call. 513. Call again. Program it in your phone. All right, folks, that's going to be it. I got some life things to take care of. Man, we almost went 2 hours. We're going to see what's going to happen soon with the crown jewel of the class. We're going to find out. Thanks to everybody who called lively. Pat, it's the sign of a good caller when half the people love you and half hate you. You're doing something right. But thank you to everybody that called, everybody in the chats. We're just going to have to see what's going to happen with the rest of this class. And then we'll go from there. We're going to have content the rest of the week, even during, the holiday time. And then when we get into next week, we'll do the full bowl prep. I appreciate everybody for being here. This was a fun episode, you guys. Have a good one. Merry Christmas.